For another update. A very good morning in Bidday. What's the latest where you are? Bidday?
Child deserves to live in a better place, and whenever or when that child commits an offense, deserves to be treated fairly and corrected in a better environment. This is why I'm here at the office of the Uganda Child Rights NGO Network to meet Damon Wamara. He is the executive director. They are in the business of advocating for child justice. Many children, especially in this lockdown, have been faced with that in certain situations that demand them to be at least face the law or be treated in a justified manner. This is the reason as why I'm here. Good morning to you, Damon.
Good morning.
Just bring us to speed. This is a lockdown. Many children are still at home. Schools are still closed. You've been monitoring across the country the situation of the children, and many are not even getting the justice they deserve. And this is the reason as why you're running the justice activity. What is the situation on the ground where you've been?
Well, the situation is it's quite alarming to see the number of cases that we come across as the Child Rights Network with our member organizations when it comes to child victims who need assistance in the justice system. And under this justice program with support from Freedom House and the USAID, we've been able to see that in just this period of time, we have been working ever since the lifting of the lockdown, that over 1,000 children have been able to either access information on justice or have been able to access justice one way or another from the cases that they have, whether at police station or in the courts. We've been able to support them.
We know that there are remand homes, there are courts that are supposed even to hear cases that include the children, but are they getting the justice they deserve? Even at the police station, even from the homes, are they being treated fairly? And when they get there, the conditions they find there, what are they telling you?
Well, you've spoken about different situations. You've spoken about the homes. You've spoken about at the police stations. You've spoken about at the courts. And when you talk about the homes and the communities, they're talking about generally the community. We have seen that children have still not been listened to. They're not being heard, and their side of the story is not being heard. And therefore, when injustice happens to a child in the community, many times the children do not want to inform anyone because of fear of being rejected by their community members. And then you'll find that there are many cases, and according to the Uganda Child Helpline, there are quite a number of cases of sexual violence.
Talking about the Sauti.
The Sauti 116. There are quite a number of sexual violence cases that are reported in the households, but these cases are not reported further. These are just a few of the cases that are actually reported to the police or to Sauti, but we know that there are many other cases where children are intimidated and they cannot be able to report. When you talk about at the police stations are supposed to be a place of haven to the children, where the children should run to seek justice and to find protection. But we also do know that many times the corruption that exists in many of the police stations ends up making the child not receive justice. In fact, the child is implicated rather than being protected. Then those who are arrested, who are in conflict with the law, who have actually broken the law, you find that many of the police stations, a few police stations, I think during the lockdown and after the lockdown, as we moved with in the different police stations, we found that there was I think only 1 or 2 police stations that had a separate cell that would be able to keep the children before they're taken to court. So where do the rest of the children, where are they placed? Where do they go? They're mixed up with the adults. That alone is a violation of their rights. It's a violation to mix a child and an adult because it puts them at higher risk than even when they're outside. Then when you talk about the courts, I think the lockdown itself, we remember that the courts were closed. So access to justice for the children was also prolonged. And we have seen and we've had cases of the sexual violence cases that are just prolonged and are not yet sorted out. We have cases that date as way back as 5 years that the child has not yet received justice for. 5 years from now, would a child want to be reminded that they were sexually violated? I don't think so.
You know, even when you talk about sexual violence, there is even, or even before you talk about the sexual violence, I know on Wednesday last week,
Yes.
after the shooting of Sheikh Chirevu in Sanji, the daughter of that sheikh was arrested by the police. But this is just one. That girl is talking about an experience that no one would want her child or his child to go through. But this is just one child. There are many who even by now, they're still in detention centers. I know camping is supposed to be a home for children, to collect the children, get them into better rehabilitation. Yes. But still, you see even those who are picked from the streets of Kampala and wherever, those who are, wherever they're picked from, they're just dumped at camping. This is a rehabilitation home. They are remand homes. But this, are we even having enough homes that we should, these who are in the conflict with the law, they should be put there, kept there, given better services to help them be corrected?
Well, we look at, first of all, we need to divide the two. Kampiringisa is a rehabilitation center. It is the only rehabilitation center we have in Uganda. It is the one that is supposed to deal with alcohol, you know, child abuse in terms of alcohol, drug abuse, those kind of rehabilitation. So they're not necessarily in conflict with the law. They are probably in contact with the law. They have probably been in touch with the law one way or another, but they're not the ones who have broken the law. Now, when we come to the remand homes, now that is where the children are taken, still for rehabilitation purposes, but they are serving a time for the case, for the police case that they have, for the law that they have broken, and we end up finding that the remand homes are quite in a challenging situation where you have many of the children. The homes are not enough, to answer your question that you asked earlier on. The homes are not enough, the spaces are not enough, because even as we talk about the increased number of cases, criminal cases, we have seen that they also increase the numbers of children who end up in these remand homes and in the rehabilitation center. But we're grateful that the government, through the Uganda Police Force, came up with the diversion guidelines. But these diversion guidelines are still within Kampala. They're still within the offices. We need these diversion guidelines to go out so that we have less cases like the one you spoke of. Probably the daughter should not have even appeared in there. The case should have been diverted for her to be separated, because you see, when you're looking at a case like that, you need to treat it as a case of probably trafficking in persons. And when it is trafficking in persons, the law declares that a child is a victim. First, a victim. You cannot regard a child as one of the perpetrators. No, it doesn't allow that, according to that law. Secondly, if the child was being intoxicated by the parent, it is not the child's fault. So the child needs to be separated. And that is why the probation officers come into play. They work with the probation officers, and this child then gets an alternative care system given to them, one that protects them rather than puts them in more harm way.
Yesterday, Uganda joined other countries in beginning the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, which violence mainly tackles the women and the children. The victims, many victims are women and children. But even today as we speak, there are those who have been abused sexually or otherwise. Many times they are family members. And this child is waking up today thinking, where should I go? What should I do? And these are the people they take as guardians. They are those people that are supposed to protect them. What would you tell such a child watching you today on Morning at 10 TV?
First of all, I'll tell the child who has been violated, it is not your fault. It is not your fault. You have a voice. You can actually speak out. I'll tell them to call 116, Sauti 116. It's free of charge. You can call and report any case of violation against you. But I would also say that the child has a responsibility. So I know gender-based violence is there, I know it is real, but we need to remember that as children have rights, they have responsibilities, and they have roles that they need to play in the household. For the cases of GBV that are on the increase during this lockdown and as we continue with our life and going back to normal, the cases of GBV should never be accommodated in a community. It takes a community to build the nation. And we need the community members to be alert, to be the ones to report to the people in the what? To be alert, to be the ones to report to the people, to report to the authorities about the cases of GBV in the community. GBV can only be conquered if everyone makes it their concern that their communities are safe. This idea of saying that that family is not mine, we shouldn't have it, because your daughter may get married to that family. Your son may get married to that family, and they'll be getting married into a home that is a GBV home. We need to be concerned. We need to be engaging to ensure that every place a child is safe.
Let's talk about empowerment of these areas, like the justice centers, talking about the LOCs, talking about the police. They have the probation officers, the family and child protection units of the police. Yeah. Are they being empowered enough? Are these people having the information? What should be done to make sure that, yes, they know the rights of the children, how to treat the children when they report, and of course what to do whenever such cases arise?
The officers, in terms of information, the persons you've spoken about, in terms of information, know a lot. But when it comes to the facilitation, they are the least facilitated. And we wish to ask that when it comes to the children accessing justice, it takes a lot. It's not cheap. You're going to have a child in your care. You're going to need to feed the child. Remember, it's a child, so a child eats 3 times more than you and I eat. They need that care. They need that attention. They need that support. Secondly, it will take time for the child to understand that they have been violated. Some of them don't even know. They feel like it was their fault. So the empowerment is there, but are the rooms, the spaces given to the police officers conducive enough? Do the courts ensure that they have that space that is child-friendly? We know some courts that have adopted that, and we're grateful to those courts, including the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. That has accommodated that. But we need that to be scaled down to every department, every district. Every court that has a family and children's court should have the space where the children are safe enough to even speak out and talk. And also, when it comes to the judges, many of the judges, by the way, right now we have quite a number of good judges, especially in the family and children court, who are actually dealing with these cases. But we are asking, for the sake of the child, can we fast track these cases? The cases are on log, whether it's starting from investigation up to the prosecution. Can we fast track them? Can we prioritize that the cases of children are handled expeditiously?
But we have many, many organizations that are dealing with the children. In fact, you are the network. You bring together all these different organizations. Yes. I personally, for me, I know of there's also High Sound for Children. There is Save the Children. There is UNICEF. There's so many organizations that are trying to rally for the children, rally support for the children, care for them. But still, we seek these vices happening day in, day out. We see less that is being done at the centers. You are talking about fast tracking. Where is the gap? How should this gap be fixed to ensure that the rights of the children are protected?
I asked that same question, and I'm still yet to get the answer myself. But I have been told that we need to respect the court process. That the process of justice it's a process and it takes time. My challenge with that statement is, for a child, time is a factor, and it's something that I don't know. It's a discussion that needs to continuously be had, and we are hoping that as we continue to engage with Ministry of Gender, and Ministry of Gender engages with Ministry of Justice, we will find a quick turnaround. We have had quite positive feedback from the Chief Justice and also the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution in handling these matters. But how do we ensure that whatever the case might be, justice for the child is gotten? For me, at the end, that is the whole thing. We have spoken about the number of GBV cases. We have spoken about the number of sexual cases. You guys have reported the number of teenage pregnancies that are all over the country. But how many cases have you reported of successful prosecution of those who were violating the 21,000 girls who we have heard of that are pregnant, or the 30,000 girls that we've heard of. Have you reported of any one case that has been successfully? We need to see that. We need to see those examples. If we get those examples, if we can finally get those examples, trust you me, we shall definitely see that people's attitudes will be changed. We just need some few examples.
Talking about the media also, I know the media also plays a big part, but many times you see on the media, especially televisions, you see a child having been defiled, they cover the face of the child, they let the mother speak out when everyone knows the mother that's the mother for that child.
Yeah.
Isn't this also an injustice to the child? Because she will grow up, everyone will know that your mother was on TV and definitely will be the one who was defiled.
And you're the only daughter there the mother has, so there's nothing you have saved on. I think we have seen the media come from far, but what you have raised is still a very crucial issue, where you protect the child but you don't protect the mother, but at the end you have not protected. Even when you show the village, people know the house, people know the plantation, they know who planted the grass, they know that this one has 5 rabbits. So the whole idea, and I hear the media saying that we want to tell the story, but and that is where, for us as child rights organizations, we say the best interest of the child. You want to tell the story, but is it in the best interest of the child? Will it help the child anyway, or will it actually traumatize the child more? The principle of do no harm. And so all these need to be put into context, and the media needs to be helped. And we've seen them improve. We've seen them greatly improve. But we still also want these cases to come out, because if these cases don't come out, then many people don't know how to catch on them. We are very proud of the media, because many times they have brought cases out that we have picked on. Civil society organizations have picked on and have given the necessary assistance. The only challenge we'll throw back to the media houses: when you get those cases, don't just record the story and leave. Ensure you follow through the whole process. Even afterwards, come back and see, has the woman gotten justice?
Okay, as we try to wind up, I know 1st December is going to be World AIDS Day. There are so many children out there who are infected with HIV, others by also their family members, but also there are those who are neglected. This is something that needs attention, but also creating a society that is respecting human rights. What would you say to the parents, to the authorities, but also the Parliamentary Forum for Children? This is something that needs attention, the issue of children living with HIV/AIDS.
Concerning the issue of children living with HIV/AIDS, Uganda has made quite a good progress in ensuring that they have equal rights and they have everything like any other child would have. And I think we need to continue stepping up to that. To the children, let us continue to adhere to our drugs. Let us continue to go for our care, our health care. Let us continue to go into those clubs that you are part of that give you strength, and continue to interact and continue to live your full life like an ordinary child. For the families, let us protect our children. Our children are a gift from God. Let us protect them. Let us ensure that we create an environment that is conducive and conducive enough for them to thrive. And that's the best thing to do, because remember that the treatment for HIV is, apart from ARVs, the conducive environment for them to thrive, a healthy, clean, and conducive environment.
Thank you, Damon. Finally, justice activity. The children, the parents, the community, where can they run to in case they need to report or they need support as you run this justice activity?
First of all, to just let us know that this activity is running in the districts of Wakiso, Chotera, Lira, Arua, and those are the 4 districts it's running in, and also Kampala in a way is covered under Wakiso. And the member organizations we are working with, our network members, are FIDA Uganda. So you can run to FIDA Uganda if you're in Arua and Chotera. FIDA Uganda is there, and in Chotera we also have Child Aid that is there. And then if you are in Lira and Wakiso, we are working with the LDC, the Law Development Center, the legal aid section, and they're ready to give all the necessary support. You can also call 116 Sauti, they will get to us, and also in case of anything, UCRNN is still available to support, even with its other member organizations in the whole country.
Thank you so much, Damon Wamara, the Executive Director, Uganda Child Rights NGO Network. It's a network that brings together, as he has said, so many organizations that are trying to advocate for the better environment or the rights of children are protected. Stephen Imbide, on Professor Chibuga, now handing you back to Remy Usiku in the studios. Have a pleasant weekend.
Well, of course, Stephen Imbide, thank you very much for that update. Our viewers should also know that in this country, we do have some 19 million young children in that regard. But you wouldn't believe we do have only 40,000 children's homes. How can 40,000 children's homes accommodate 19 million children? And how many of the 19 million children are actually grappling with destitution and